Evolution and the heart. Evolution is defined as a change in inherited characteristics that occurs over time and across successive generations. As stated by Charles Darwin, the father of evolution, natural selection acts on individuals to shape the characteristics of populations. Natural selection occurs when organisms with specific characteristics survive under particular environmental conditions, while those without those characteristics dwindle. In short, evolution is a change that maintains traits over time which allow for survival while reducing and eliminating traits that are redundant and prevent survival.
The heart. The heart is a complex organ at the center of the circulatory system as it pumps blood throughout the body. Blood provides the body with oxygen and nutrients and removes waste. The heart and its evolutionary history is paramount to understanding its importance. The evolution of the heart. The very earliest heart was that of a fish, which only had 2 chambers. Afterwards came the amphibian heart, which had 3 chambers, which was partially due to the higher energy expenditure, more need for nutrients and oxygen, partly due to needing to be able to survive on land for a prolonged period of time. Both the reptilian and the mammal heart and the bird heart have 4 chambers, again due to the higher energy consumption, more nutrients being needed, and the higher consumption of oxygen.
The humble beginnings of the heart. Researchers believe that the first ancestor with a blood circulation system used blood vessels through a peristaltic pump system, similar to how our intestines push food. This system is still seen today in annelids and is perhaps the missing link between organisms with blood circulatory systems. Earliest evidence of a heart. 520 million years ago, a tiny arthropod was fossilized, and its body structure suggests that it was an ocean predator. As seen by its eyes on the end of stalks, its mandibles, and a segmented body. These are considered the tools of an ocean predator, which needed a lot of oxygen to allow for more movement to be a successful predator. These are believed to be the earliest organisms to have a blood circulatory system with an organ that moved its blood around, a very early version of the heart.
Invertebrate hearts. Invertebrates has a simple circulatory system rather than a heart, and their cells absorb nutrients through their skin or from other cells. More complex invertebrates have an open circulatory system that uses a pumping mechanism, small muscular area that contact to push blood. The blood is pumped throughout the tissue and reabsorbed as it filters back to the pumping mechanism. The origin of this pump are believed to have started with the pumping of jellyfish, and those muscular regions are thought to be the precursor to our complex human hearts. Fish hearts. The next evolution of the hearts was the development of the fish heart, the simplest type of heart. Fish has a closed circulatory system, but their hearts only have 2 chambers, resembling the embryonic heart of all vertebrates. The top chamber is called the areon, and the bottom chamber is called the ventricles. The fish heart has 1 large vessel that directs blood into the gills for reoxygenation and then transport it around the body. This double circulatory system allows for more efficient oxygen distribution throughout the body. This changes the structure coincident with the development of lungs. Fish heart history. The first fish appeared in the Cambrian explosion nearly 530 million years ago from now, and were jawless, so it could only predate on small prey, implying that the size of the fish was quite so small. So the heart of the fish is comparably small in size and less efficient in blood pumping. In Silurian and Ordovician period, jawed fish appeared, and the diversity and quantity of the fish increased dramatically, leading to increasing interspecies competition and predation. Fish in this period consume more energy and require larger supply of nutrient and oxygen, which require a more efficient heart to pump and circulate blood. Researchers believe that 4-chamber hearts emerged in this period. However, fish heart found later in history generally has two chambers, possibly due to evolution of gills that decrease the burden on the heart to pump and circulate blood.
The amphibian heart. While fish hearts were optimally adapted to life underwater, the heart of amphibians, like the frog, needed to be more complex and allow for a more efficient and intricate way of delivering oxygen and nutrients. The lifestyle of amphibians and fish were vastly different, which is one of the main contributors to why fish and amphibian biology diverged. Since amphibians were the first vertebrates to live on land, they had an advantageous position compared to solely aquatic species. There was little to no predation pressure and an extensive amount of resources available. As a consequence, the individuals who were able to stay above water for the longest period of time before returning to water had an enormous edge over the competition. Therefore, through the process of natural selection, the specimens with the most adept heart to above water living were the most likely to reproduce and pass on their genes to offspring. Hence, while originally amphibian hearts were relatively similar to fish hearts, through the various different mechanisms of evolution, the two became more and more distinct. An example of such a mechanism is mutation, which is defined to be the permanent alteration of the structure of a gene. This, combined with other mechanisms of evolution, such as natural selection, resulted in the hearts of amphibians and frogs to become more and more varied, adapting to the different living conditions of the species. Amphibians have a three-chambered heart consisting of two arteries and one ventricle, rather than the two-chambered hearts of fish, allowing frogs to keep the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood separate as they come into the heart. This double circulatory system allowed for more efficient oxygen distribution throughout the body. It enabled amphibians to continue to evolve and thrive as a species. Reptilian hearts. The next step up on the evolutionary ladder were the reptiles. Comparing the basic biology of reptiles and amphibians, while both species have members of various different sizes, the average reptile was significantly larger than the average amphibian. The largest amphibian known is the Chinese giant salamander, which as an adult can reach a mass of up to 30 kilograms. By comparison, a saltwater crocodile can often reach up to 1,000 kilograms in mass, making it leagues larger than the Chinese giant salamander. This sheer increase in size was largely advantageous for the species of reptiles, as it allowed them to better compete with predators and exert control over larger territory, therefore increasing the amount of resources they had access to. However, amphibian hearts would not be able to sustain such a task, and hence the amphibian heart had to evolve in order to be able to support the different lifestyle of reptiles. Similarly to the evolution of the fish heart to the amphibian heart, the majority of reptiles have another heart chamber, allowing for a more efficient transport of oxygen and nutrients. This brings the total amount of heart chambers to 4. Some species in the reptile class, however, do not have this adaptation, such as the turtle, only possessing a variation of a 3.5 chamber heart. Despite this disparity in heart chambers, however, their general purpose and functionality still remains the same, with blood mixing the ventricles for turtles, and crocodiles having a small opening at the base of the arterial trunk for this task. Overwhelmingly, however, through the different mechanisms of evolution, the reptile heart diverged from the amphibian origins, developing a further heart chamber to support reptilian lifestyle.
Mammalian heart. The mammalian heart has evolved into the 4-chambered organ with a fully formed septum that separates the atria and the ventricule, permanently separating oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood into the right atrium and is pumped into the lungs to be oxygenated. The oxygenated blood returns to the left atrium and is pumped throughout the body by the largest artery in the body, the aorta.
The human heart. The human heart is a complex, 4-chambered organ with a fully developed septum that pumps blood, oxygen, and nutrients to our bodies more efficiently. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood, and the left atrium receives oxygenated blood. The mammalian heart has evolved to efficiently process energy and fuel the body by completely separating oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Every vertebrate heart develops with a common pattern, a blood vessel twisting in on itself, creating two different chambers. It then diverges dependent on the organism. This two-chamber plan is shared among all vertebrates and is expressed through genes. Flies possess a Tin Man gene that is responsible for the construction of its blood circulatory system. In humans, our Tin Man gene is NKX2-5. Perhaps we share an ancestor with the humble fly, connected by our need for a circulatory system. Evolution is the driving force of our differences. However, the differences that we see today can be linked by our past.
The heart of the future. Transplants and artificial hearts. The concept of organ and tissue transplants has been explored for centuries, while organs have been taken from cadavers and animals for research since the early 1900s. It was not until 1967 that Christian Barnard performed the first human heart transplant, which quickly made medical history and saved the lives of many cardiovascular patients. Today, scientists, doctors, and engineers are working together to create effective artificial hearts and ventricle assist devices for transplant candidates, either as a long-term solution or as a short-term bridge as they wait for a full heart transplant. The advancements of the human heart. The prevalence of heart diseases has been slowly decreasing in recent years due to greater education, medical advances, and treatments. People are growing more aware of preventative measures to take to prevent heart disease, avoiding smoking, physical activity, healthy eating, and managing stress.
In conclusion, evolved hearts have allowed vertebrates to gain a more active lifestyle, improving on more primitive blood circulation systems. The evolution of the heart has enabled oxygen and nutrients to be pumped efficiently to body tissues, enabling the oxygen-greeting brain to develop. This complex but efficient way of getting oxygen and nutrients to body tissues took millions of years to evolve and perfect. The relationship between evolution and the heart also highlights the unifying theme of the relationship between structure and function.